Salutations! Hello! Welcome to another Dreadlocks question and answer video where I try to answer your questions to the best of my ability. First question this week comes courtesy of Dixie Marie. And Dixie Marie asks, will having thin hair negatively affect the starting of her dreadlocks? Will it stop her from being able to get dreadlocks? And she also has dyed hair, unnatural colours, purple, blue, and wants to know whether that is going to be a problem. Having thin hair does not necessarily stop you from being able to have dreadlocks. It depends how thin your hair is. If it's actually like really super thin, then that may be a problem, but if it's just thinner than average, not going to be a big deal. It is going to limit the dreadlocks that you're going to be able to get. So for example, if you have 1 inch by 1 inch sections, the dreadlocks that you get from those 1 inch by 1 inch sections is going to be thinner than if someone also had 1 inch by 1 inch sections but had super thick hair. The dreadlocks are going to be different sizes, but you're still being able to get dreadlocks. The only other problem you may encounter is if you have super thin hair, then the dreadlocks may seem slightly more spaced out, you know, because they're thinner and they're just not filling out the space as much. But if it's just slightly thinner than average, I don't think you're going to have a big problem there because, you know, average is average. You have half the people are going to have thicker hair with dreads, half the people are going to have thinner hair with dreads. With regards to the different colours, you can start dreadlocks with dyed hair. My hair had dye in it when I started mine. Colour tends to hang around in dreadlocks longer than it does in normal hair because you just don't wash it as often as you would with your normal hair, and you don't wash it with the same stuff that you wash your normal hair with. So the colour will hang around, but you're still going to have it growing out. And if you're happy having blue and purple hair growing out, obviously it's not going to blend too well with your natural colour, I wouldn't think. You can re-dye the roots of the dreadlocks. Plenty of people do, plenty of people dye their dreadlocks all the time, but you have to remember that it's not the most fun thing in the world to try and dye dreadlocks. It's just a bit awkward, and there's going to be a lot of rinsing involved for the excess dye, which is not the greatest thing to have to do to young dreadlocks, have to really roughly wash them. So it is a decision that you will have to make. Next question from Jessie Pontious. Jesse has 4 to 5 inches of hair that he is neglecting, letting the hair freeform, and wants to know when he should separate off the chunks of dreaded hair, and is separating too often going to hinder the process. There is definitely a sort of grey area when it comes to separating neglect dreads, in that it's an area in between having straight, loose, normal hair and dreadlocks. There's sort of a time when they're just kind of sort of knotted together, and that is the area that is hard to define as to when you should separate and when you shouldn't separate. I'd say that in your particular case, you have short-ish hair, 4 to 5 inches. You're not in too much of the risky area of having sort of massive dreadlocks growing overnight. If you had really long hair, then things can sort of get out of hand quickly, but with short hair, it's very difficult for those short hairs to sort of create large dreadlocks very quick. Since you can see the hair sectioning off, just be aware that if those sections do start to suddenly look bigger, like they're doubling up, and you don't want that, that is the time to separate. But I wouldn't specifically sort of set out a time frame saying, oh, I'm going to separate my hair once a week, or I'm going to separate my hair twice a week, because you should just, you know, keep in mind, check around every now and again, and if you feel something that is maybe getting a little out of hand, separate as needed. What you have to remember is that those sections are going to maybe slightly get smaller, so it may look when it's loose as kind of a big chunk, but remember they are going to knot up and tighten from those big loose patches into what will be slightly smaller dreadlocks. Next question from Richie19. Richie has had his dreadlocks for 1 month at the time of posting his question, and they don't really look all that dreadlock-like. Is there anything that he can do? No one's dreadlocks at 1 month look fantastically dreadlock-like. It is a process, it does take time, lots and lots of time, and that's not very fun, but it does take time. If it did not take time, then no one would say it takes a year to grow dreadlocks. If they look like dreadlocks after 1 month, then it will only take 1 month. All you can really do is, you can palm roll them if you want. It's going to make them look kind of more dreadlock shaped, kind of more dreadlock looking over the short term. Palm rolling, at least in my experience, does not lead to permanent long-term results in regards to making the dreadlocks tighter, but can temporarily give them a more dreadlock shape if you're really desperate for something to do, but you really kind of just need to wait. I know it's sometimes very difficult to wait because you're so excited. You're like, oh, I want dreadlocks, I've started them, I want them to look like dreadlock, I want to do something. You wish that there's something that you could do with your hands that are otherwise doing nothing to make them go faster. But the best thing to do is to forget about them, stop worrying about how dreadlocked they look or don't look, and then if once you've forgotten about them, before you know it, they'll be older and be closer to the year mark, closer to the point by which they will have matured. Demon Senok wants to know, is it better to have thick or thin dreads? This is very much a personal opinion. Some people are going to love thick dreads, some people are going to love thin dreads. No one is better than the other, so I can't, just say this is better, that's better. From a practical point of view, I will say that thicker dreadlocks are going to be drying a lot slower. They're going to suck up a lot more water. They're going to take longer to dry, but on the upside, there are a few of them to separate, few of them to look after. Thin dreads are going to dry faster, but you're going to have a lot more of them generally to have to separate, and they're going to be harder to keep from going into the thicker dreads. And my final question is from Jen Marshall, and Jen is getting married and wants to know if there is something that she can do to control them, make them a little bit more, pleasant looking for her wedding day without using wax. There are things that you can do to tame the dreadlocks. It's not very easy to do because they will often try and do the opposite of what you're trying to get them to do. I definitely wouldn't put wax on them. I've had nothing but bad experiences. I'm yet to come across someone who has had a particularly positive experience with wax, and it's going to be a long-term negative, and it's not worth putting it in just for one day. Obviously you can crochet hook the dreadlocks. It's kind of controversial in that some people love crochet hooking, some people hate crochet hooking. Crochet hooks can cause damage that will sort of build up over time every time you crochet hook, so while crochet hooking once is not going to cause the dreadlocks to fall out, if you're going to be crochet hooking for the lifetime of the dreads, that damage can build up and lead to problems down the line. The neatness acquired from the crochet hooking is more permanent though, so it's not like just a one-day thing, but also they will look like they've been crochet hooked for their whole life from then on. Some people really want that, some people hate that, some people really like the neat look. If that's something that you want for the long term of your dreadlocks, it may be something to consider. Like, you can go 100 years and neglect dreadlocks would never look neat and crocheted, but you could go 100 years and crocheted dreadlocks would never look neglected, so it depends what you really want from the dreadlocks in the long term. Less permanent things, you can use aloe vera. A lot of people use aloe vera for taming the frizz. You can use it in the same sense as you'd use hair gel. It's definitely not as bad as putting wax on. It takes a little bit of washing out, but it does wash out. You can get aloe vera straight from the plant, or you can buy it in like a pure gel form. You can also use hair straighteners or hair curlers on the dreads, and that's going to allow you to sort of shape them into positions that you'd want them to be in without them pointing out in different directions. And also any loose hair that is straightened or curled with them will stay sort of kind of stuck to the dreadlock for a short period of time, hopefully long enough for your wedding day. But also, if it's really important, a really important thing that you're getting your hair dressed up for, which a wedding day certainly would be, you can just use things like hairspray and hair gel. They're not things that you'd want to use on your dreadlocks every single day, but I think for your wedding you could maybe make allowances and they would not be as bad for your dreadlocks over the long term as using wax on them would be. Those are my questions for this week. If you have a question that you would like me to answer in my dreadlocks Q&A videos, you can either post it down in the comment section to the latest question and answer video, writing question at the start of your comment and it will join the queue, or you can join the Facebook page at facebook.com/lazydreads. Each Tuesday I ask for Q&A questions, and then whichever question gets the most likes on Facebook by the time I film the next video will get answered straight away that week. No waiting, no queue, no nothing. If you like this video, please click the like, and then I will know that you've liked it, you've enjoyed it, and then I will know to make more of them in the future. If you'd like to see more from me in the future, you can subscribe and then you'll get all my new videos. As always, all my stuff can be found on lazydreads.com. I'd like to thank you for watching. I hope to see you again next week. Farewell!